Hey everyone, welcome to Daily Revelations. I am back, feeling way better, and I'm still recovering from my surgery, but glad to be back on camera and feeling good. So what am I talking about today? Well, we're in Esther 7, starting today, and we'll have 5 videos on this chapter, and I hope that you get a lot out of it as you're reading it. So the thing that I want to talk about today is head to the garden. As we read through this chapter, that was the thing that popped out to me today. As in verse 7, it says, "The king rose in his anger after drinking wine and went to the palace garden. So he rose up, left everything that he was doing, and went to the garden. While Haman, at the same time, as we find out in the rest of that verse and the next verse, he stayed and he got more and more deep in the muck." Oftentimes that's what we do, and we don't even realize we're doing it. And it sometimes takes a reset to tell our mind we're headed in the wrong direction. And I don't know where I read it, but it's been in this last week and a half. I was on a lot of pain medication, so please forgive me. But I do remember what I read. And what it said was that there was a psychologist that said that people would often call him and say, "I've got all these troubles, all these worries." And he'd say, "Go take a walk and don't think about anything that you're thinking about. Just look at God's beauty. Look at, immerse yourself in the garden that God has given you." And he said, then when you get done with that, if things are still bothering you, call me. And he said that very rarely, like 1 in 100 people would call him back, because we need that reset. We need that reprieve. And there's something about nature, because it is completely God, that we can reset our thinking in the garden. And that's why Adam and Eve were in a garden. They weren't in a city. And that is so many times over and over again. Jesus went to the Garden of Gethsemane when he prayed. We need to practice this. When God puts us in a place where we're circling things going through our minds, when we want to make a wise decision, we need to step out into the garden. Make a place where we are surrounded by nature. We focus on God. And what a perfect place when we see his creation, when we see the uniqueness of every petal on every tree, and you really dive into the depth of God's majesty in that garden setting. And it resets everything, every circumstance, every decision, everything in your life. And so I know there's a lot of really crazy things going on. I was completely oblivious to a lot of it for this last week. Just like I said, after my surgery, I was on a lot of pain medication and didn't even see the news because I was just surviving. But before you do anything, before you react to anything, go to God, go out in nature, reset your thinking in his space, because he wants us to head to the garden before we head out into the world, to reset what we're processing in our mind, what we're saying out of our mouth. He has the perfect solution. And when we turn to him, the things that we do and the things that we say will always be filled with love. They'll always be filled with peace. And they will not bring division. They will not bring hurt, because they're done out of a mutual love. And so in the hurting world that we live in, this is something that we all need to do. We all need to head to the garden, spend time with God, reset our thinking on the basics. This is what life is about. We are here for but a time, and we are a flower that God blooms and then we fade away. What do we want those few people that see us in the garden to see? And how will that impact how they bloom? So anyways, I'm thankful to be back. I look forward to kind of getting ramped up to a little more closer to normal. Far from it, definitely. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again tomorrow on Daily Revelations. Bye, everybody.